I demand that you fill this up right now. You cannot refuse me service. I want to speak to your supervisor, and I am pressing charges.
I never thought I'd be threatened with a SWAT team over 23 gallons of mid-grade unleaded gasoline, but here we are. If you've ever worked in customer service, you know the look. It's not just anger. It's a specific, hollowed-out stare that suggests the person looking at you doesn't view you as a human being, but rather as a malfunctioning vending machine that has swallowed their dollar bill. I've seen that look 1,000 times working the counter at Ridgeview Fuel and Supply, but I had never seen it weaponized quite like this. Let me set the scene. Ridgeview Fuel is your standard, run-of-the-mill gas station sitting on the edge of town, exactly 2 miles down the road from the pearly gates of Ridgeview Meadows. Ridgeview Meadows isn't just a neighborhood. It's a fortress of beige stucco and aggressive lawn care enforcement. It's the kind of homeowners association, HOA, where they measure the height of your grass with a ruler and fine you if your mailbox is a shade of black that isn't midnight onyx. I've worked the morning shift here for 8 years. I know the regulars. I know the rhythm. Tuesdays are for construction crews. Fridays are for the desperate commuters. And Thursdays are usually quiet. Until Beverly Lang walked in. If you don't know a Beverly, count yourself lucky. Imagine if a migraine headache gained sentience, put on a floral blouse, and bought a white SUV. That's Beverly. She is the president of the Ridgeview Meadows HOA, a title she wears like it's a rank in the Navy SEALs. She didn't just walk into my store. She invaded it. It was 9:15 a.m. My coworker Tessa was in the back, probably reorganizing the inventory, which is code for scrolling through TikTok while sitting on a crate of motor oil. I was wiping down the counter, trying to remove a coffee stain that had been there since the Clinton administration. The door flew open with enough force to rattle the display of beef jerky. In marched Beverly. She was wearing oversized sunglasses indoors, a pristine blazer that cost more than my car, and an expression that looked like she smelled something rotting. She didn't look at me. She marched straight to the counter, slammed her leather purse down next to the register, and barked a command without even taking a breath. Pump 4. Fill it. Premium only. And check the windshield fluid. It's streaking. I blinked. I looked at her, then out the window at her pristine white Lexus SUV parked crookedly across 2 spots. Good morning to you too, I said, keeping my voice in that forced, polite customer service register. Unfortunately, this is a self-service station, ma'am. But if you prepay inside, the pump will activate. She slowly lowered her sunglasses. Her eyes were ice blue and terrifyingly empty. She looked at me the way a scientist looks at a bacteria sample. Excuse me, she said. It wasn't a question. It was a warning shot. Do you know who I am? I can't say that I do. I lied. Everyone knew who she was. She was the woman who once tried to ban the ice cream truck from the neighborhood because the music was culturally insensitive to people who prefer silence. I am Beverly Lang, she announced, her voice rising in volume. President of the Ridgeview Meadows Association. I am on official community patrol. I require fuel for the patrol vehicle. Okay, I said slowly. That'll be about $60 for a fill-up on that tank. She let out a sharp, incredulous laugh. I'm not paying for it. Charge it to the HOA account. We have an arrangement with local businesses for essential safety operations. I paused. I knew the owner of the station, a grumbling old man named Jerry who hated 2 things: taxes and people who asked for credit. We absolutely did not have an HOA account. Ma'am, I said, leaning forward slightly, we don't have an HOA account. We don't have an arrangement. This is a private business. You have to pay for the gas like everyone else. For a solid 10 seconds, she just stared at me. It was like her brain was buffering. The concept of no was so foreign to her that her operating system crashed. Then the reboot happened, and it was violent. This is discrimination, she hissed. It's commerce, I corrected. You are denying essential services to a community official, she shouted, slamming her hand on the counter. I am patrolling for the safety of this town. By refusing me fuel, you are endangering the lives of every resident in Ridgeview Meadows. I will have your job. I will have this place condemned. Tessa poked her head out from the back room, her eyes wide. She mouthed the words. Is she serious? I nodded. Ma'am, please lower your voice. I said, my patience thinning. You can pay with cash, credit, or debit. Those are the options. If you don't want gas, please move your vehicle so the guy behind you can pull in. That was the wrong thing to say. Suggesting that she, Beverly Lang, move out of the way for someone else? It was like I'd slapped her. She pulled out her phone. "You have made a grave mistake," she said, her voice shaken with a mix of rage and adrenaline. "I am calling the authorities." "Go ahead," I said, crossing my arms. "Call the police and tell them a gas station clerk wants you to pay for your gas." I'd love to hear that conversation. She sneered at me, tapped the screen 3 times, and put the phone to her ear. She held eye contact with me the entire time. When she spoke, her voice changed instantly. She went from aggressive bully to terrified victim in a split second. It was genuinely impressive acting. 911? "Yes, please help me," she shrieked into the phone, her voice pitching up an octave. "I am at Ridgeview Fuel. I am being held hostage." My jaw literally dropped. "He won't let me leave," she screamed, spinning around to face the security cameras. "There is a hostile man here. He is blocking my access to fuel. He is denying me essential resources. I fear for my safety. He's aggressive. He's threatening me." She paused, listened to the operator, then looked at me with a smirk that was pure, unadulterated evil. "Yes, he's refusing to release the pumps. It's a standoff. Send the police immediately." She hung up the phone and pointed a manicured finger at my chest. "You're finished," she whispered. "You don't mess with the HOA. Then, she turned and stormed out the store. But she didn't leave. Oh no. She stood right in front of the glass doors, blocking the entrance, and began screaming at the top of her lungs to the empty parking lot. "Help! He's trapped me. This business is corrupt. Justice for homeowners." I stood there, frozen behind the counter. Tessa walked up beside me, holding a bag of chips she hadn't paid for. "Mark," she said quietly, "did she just call in a hostage situation because you wouldn't give her free premium gas?" "Yes," I replied, feeling a cold sweat start to form on the back of my neck. "Yes, she did. You know the sheriff is going to be here in like 3 minutes, right?" "Yeah." Tessa crunched a chip loudly. "This is going to be the best Thursday ever." I looked out the window. Beverly was now pacing back and forth, gesturing wildly to a confused delivery driver who had just pulled up. She was framing me for a felony because she didn't want to swipe her Visa card. I realized then that this wasn't just a rude customer. This was a person who had never, in her entire life, been told she couldn't have what she wanted. And by telling her no, I hadn't just inconvenienced her, I had shattered her reality. And now, she was going to try to destroy mine. I took a deep breath, checked the security camera monitor to make sure the red rec light was on, and waited for sirens. The war had begun. The 3 minutes it took for police to arrive felt less like time passing and more like a slow-motion car crash. Outside, Beverly Lang was fully committed to her role as the survivor of a siege. She had stopped pacing and was now leaning against her white Lexus, hand on her forehead, looking like the cover of a Victorian romance novel about a woman dying of consumption. Every time a car slowed down on the main road to see what was happening, she would point a trembling finger at the gas station, mouthing the word help. Inside, Tessa was live texting the play-by-play to our manager, Jerry, who was presumably on his boat and definitely not going to answer. "She's checking her makeup in the side mirror," Tessa whispered, peeking through the blinds. She just reapplied lipstick. Who puts on Ruby Woo during a hostage crisis? Someone who expected close-up on the evening news. I muttered. My stomach was doing backflips. Logically, I knew I had done nothing wrong. But logic doesn't always win when you're up against someone with Beverly's tax bracket and audacity. In America, the person who screams the loudest usually gets their way, or at least gets a gift card to shut them up. Then, the cruiser rolled in. It wasn't the SWAT team Beverly had demanded. It was a single county sheriff's vehicle, dusty and tired looking. The lights weren't even flashing. Sheriff Cole Warren stepped out. I knew Cole. He was a good man, built like a vending machine, and possessing a mustache that commanded instant respect. He had been policing this town for 20 years, which many knew exactly 2 things: where the best donuts were and who the town's troublemakers were. Beverly didn't wait for him to approach. She sprinted toward him, her heels clicking frantically on the pavement. "Sheriff! Sheriff Warren!" she screamed, flailing her arms. "Thank God! He's inside! He's armed with hostility." I watched through the glass as Cole held up a hand, stopping her momentum before she could physically tackle him. "Mrs. Lang," Cole said. I couldn't hear him through the glass, but I could read his lips perfectly. "Calm down. Arrest him." Beverly shrieked, pointing at me. I want him in handcuffs. He held me against my will. He refused to release the fuel. He is obstructing an official community patrol. Cole looked at her, then at the gas pumps, then at the perfectly unlocked glass doors of the station. He adjusted his belt, tipped his hat, and walked toward the store. Beverly followed him closely, vibrating with righteous fury. The bell above the door jingled. It sounded comically cheerful, given the tension. "Morning, Mark," Cole said, his voice flat. He sounded exhausted. "Morning, Sheriff," I replied, keeping my hands visible on the counter. "Coffee is fresh if you need it. I might take you up on that later," he sighed. He turned to look at the security camera monitor above my head, noting the recording light, then turned his gaze to Beverly. "Mrs. Lang, dispatch said you reported a hostage situation involving a weapon?" "Yes," Beverly cried. She slammed her hand on the counter again. "The weapon is economic violence. He is holding my vehicle hostage by refusing to fuel it." Cole stared at her. The silence that followed was heavy enough to crush a soda can. "Ma'am," Cole said slowly, "is he physically preventing you from leaving?" "Well, no," she scoffed, "but I cannot leave without fuel, and he refuses to provide it. Did you pay for the fuel?" Cole asked. "That is not the point." Beverly snapped. "I told him to charge it to the HOA account. I am the president of Ridgeview Meadows. I have authority. He is discriminating against me because of my position." Cole rubbed the bridge of his nose. He looked at me. "Mark, do you have an HOA account on file?" "No, sir," I said clearly. "We are a prepaid station. Cash or card." I told her 3 times she could pay and pump. She refused and called 911. Cole nodded. He turned back to Beverly. His demeanor shifted. The tired neighborly vibe vanished, replaced by the cold, hard steel of law enforcement. "Mrs. Lang," he said, "this is a private business. They can refuse service to anyone, especially someone who refuses to pay. That is a civil matter. It is not a police matter." "I'm not finished," Cole interrupted, his voice booming slightly. Beverly's mouth snapped shut. "You called 911. You told the dispatcher you were being held hostage. You said there was a hostile subject. You triggered a priority 1 response." I felt threatened. Beverly argued, though her confidence was starting to crack. His refusal was aggressive. His tone is not crime, Mrs. Lang," Cole said. He reached into his vest pocket and pulled out a citation book. Beverly's eyes went wide. She looked at the book like it was a live grenade. What are you doing?" "I'm issuing you a citation," Cole said calmly, clicking his pen. "Misuse of the emergency reporting system. It is a Class B misdemeanor to knowingly make a false report to emergency services. You are not a hostage. You are a customer who didn't want to use her debit card." The color drained from Beverly's face. For a moment, she looked like she might faint. Then, the shock turned into pure, unadulterated venom. You are finding me?" she whispered. "Do you know who my husband is? Do you know who I am? I run this community. I have dinner with the mayor. I will have your badge for this. You can take that up with the judge on the date listed on this ticket," Cole said, ripping the paper off the pad with a satisfying zip sound. He extended it to her. She didn't take it. She just stared at it. "Take the ticket, ma'am," Cole said, "or I will have to place you under arrest for obstruction." Her hand shot out and snatched the paper. She crumpled it instantly in her fist. "This isn't over," she hissed, looking directly at me. Her eyes were manic now. "You think this is funny? You think you won? I will bury you. I will bury this entire station. You have no idea what you just started." "Have a nice day, Mrs. Lang," I said. She spun around on her heel and stormed out. She slammed the door so hard I thought the glass would shatter. We watched as she got into her Lexus, revved the engine aggressively, and peeled out of the parking lot, nearly clipping a fire hydrant in her haste to escape her own humiliation. Cole put his pen away and looked at me. "Sorry about that, Mark. Thursday, huh?" "Thursday," I agreed. "Thanks, Cole." "Keep that security footage," he advised, his face serious. "People like her, they don't take no for an answer. She's gonna escalate." "You think?" "I know," Cole said. "She's not mad about the ticket. She's mad that you embarrassed her. A woman like that will burn a whole village down just to prove she's a queen." He tipped his hat and walked out. I leaned against the counter and exhaled a breath I felt like I'd been holding for an hour. Tessa popped up from behind the lottery display, holding her phone. "I got it," she whispered, her eyes shining. "I got the whole thing on video." "Delete it," I said instinctively. "Are you kidding?" she grinned. "This is insurance. Besides, Cole is right. She's not going home to knit a sweater, Mark. She's going home to her war room. I looked out at the empty spot where Beverly's SUV had been. The peace and quiet of the gas station returned, but the air felt heavy. The static electricity of a coming storm. Cole was right. The citation wasn't a stop sign for Beverly Lang. It was fuel, and I had just given her a full tank. If you think waiting for a lawsuit is stressful, try being boycotted by a woman who owns a bedazzler. I didn't sleep well that night. I kept dreaming that I was drowning in a swimming pool filled with HOA violation letters, while Beverly Lang stood on the diving board laughing in slow motion. When I pulled into the station parking lot the next morning, the dread was back, heavier than before. The morning sun usually made the station look peaceful, dew on the pumps, the smell of fresh coffee brewing inside. But today, the atmosphere was charged. As I walked toward the glass doors, I saw it. Taped crookedly to the glass at eye level was a piece of neon green poster board, written in aggressive red glitter marker, the kind that screams arts and crafts project gone wrong, were the words, boycott Ridgeview Fuel, justice for HOA residents. This station supports discrimination. The glitter sparkled mockingly in the sunlight. Only Beverly would wage war with scrapbooking supplies. I sighed, ripped the sign down, and walked inside. The tape left a sticky residue on the glass, just like Beverly's presence left a sticky residue on my soul. Tessa was already there, leaning against the counter, sipping her third espresso shot of the morning. She looked at me with the expression of a combat medic who had seen too much. "Before you ask," she said, holding up a hand. "No, I didn't see who put it up, but I'm willing to bet my entire paycheck it was a woman in floral print who drives a white SUV. She's persistent. I'll give her that." I muttered, tossing the glittery declaration of war into the trash can. "Is that it? Just a sign?" "Oh, honey," Tessa laughed darkly. "Check the local Facebook group." She slid her phone across the counter. On the Cedar Ridge community chat page, there was a live stream titled, "On Location, the Scene of the Crime." It had been posted at 6 a.m. I watched the video. Beverly was standing across the street with 3 other women, her loyal enforcers, holding signs that said, "Free gas is a right," and "Stop abusing leaders." They were chanting, but they were offbeat. "They've been there for an hour," Tessa said, popping a piece of gum. One of them tried to throw a bagel at the window. It bounced off. It was very anticlimactic. "I just want to sell gas, Tessa," I groaned, rubbing my temples. I don't want to be the villain in a suburban soap opera. The morning dragged on. Customers came in, some giving us weird looks, others asking if we really hated the HOA. I had to explain repeatedly that we didn't hate the HOA. We just required currency in exchange for petroleum. A revolutionary concept, I know, but the real show started at 10 a.m. The door chimed. 2 men walked in. They were not customers. You can always tell. They were wearing ill-fitting suits that looked like they had been bought at a clearance sale in 1998. They had lanyards around their necks with laminated badges that looked suspiciously like they were printed on a home inkjet printer. They marched up to the counter with their chests puffed out, trying to look intimidating, but mostly looking like lost accountants. "Good morning," the taller one announced. His voice cracked slightly, ruining the effect. "We are with the Community Consumer Protection Agency." "The what?" I asked, squinting at his badge. It just said CCPA in Comic Sans font. There was a clip art picture of an eagle on it. "We are here to investigate allegations of systemic harassment, price gouging, and economic unfairness." The shorter one added, pulling out a clipboard. He looked nervous. He was sweating through his shirt, and it wasn't even hot in the store. "We need to see your service logs, your employee handbook, and your fuel calibration records immediately." I looked at Tessa. She was staring at them with a look of intense concentration. I knew these men. Well, I didn't know them, but I knew their type. They were husbands. Specifically, they were the husbands of Beverly's friends, bullied into the charade because their wives had threatened to withhold golf privileges if they didn't do something. "Gentlemen," Tessa said, stepping forward with total authority, "I assume you are here regarding the Lang complaint?" The 2 men blinked, surprised that we knew the name. Yes, exactly. We are official investigators." "Excellent," Tessa said, not missing a beat. She reached under the counter and pulled out a random, wrinkled piece of paper that I knew for a fact was an old inventory list for Snickers bars. She slapped it on the counter with a loud thwack. "According to Corporate Policy Article 4, Section B." Tessa improvised, her voice as serious as a Supreme Court judge. "All official non-governmental complaints must be accompanied by the verification ritual." The tall man frowned. "The what?" The verification ritual, Tessa repeated. To prove you aren't fraudsters wearing wires. You know the protocol, right? If you're real agents, you know. The two men exchanged nervous glances. They clearly had no idea what she was talking about, because they weren't real agents. They were two guys named Dave and Steve who probably just want to be fishing right now. Of course we know, the short one lied, trying to save face. We just want to make sure you knew. Great, Tessa beamed, her smile predatory. Then please proceed with the duck dance. I bit the inside of my cheek, so hard I tasted blood. I had to turn away and pretend to check the lottery tickets to keep from exploding. The duck dance? The tall man asked, his confidence crumbling like a dry cookie. Yes, Tessa said sternly. You have to flap your arms like wings, waddle in a circle 3 times, and quack loudly. It confirms you aren't wearing a recording device. The vibrations of the quack disrupt the frequency. Corporate policy. I can't release the documents without it. The silence in the store was deafening. Mrs. Butler, an elderly regular who was pouring her coffee in the corner, paused mid-pour. The men stood there, paralyzed. They were trapped in a hell of their own making. If they refused, they admitted they were fake and failed Beverly. If they did it, they retained their cover but lost their dignity forever. The short man stammered. He actually lifted his elbows slightly. He was going to do it. He was actually considering it. Clock is ticking, agents, Tessa said, checking her watch. I have the files right here. Just waiting on the quack. The tall man looked at his partner, then at the security camera, then at Tessa's unblinking, serious face. A moment of clarity washed over him. He realized that maybe, just maybe, there was no such thing as a corporate mandatory duck dance. This is ridiculous, the tall man snapped, his face turning beet red. He grabbed his partner's arm, stopping him from flapping. We will report this insolence. You are obstructing an investigation. And you are obstructing my view of the parking lot, Tessa replied sweetly. Get out before I call the real cops and ask them to scan those badges. The mention of real cops broke the spell. The bravado evaporated instantly. They turned and scrambled out the door faster than raccoons caught in a trash can. As soon as the door closed, Tessa and I collapsed. I laughed until my ribs hurt. I laughed until tears streamed down my face. Mrs. Butler was cackling so hard, she had to sit down on a crate of soda. Tessa, I gasped, wiping my eyes. The duck dance? Really? And he was going to do it. The short guy was ready to quack. I wanted to see how far they'd go, she shrugged, grinning like a Cheshire cat. But seriously, Mark, this is funny, but it also means she's desperate. She's sending fake agents. She's escalating. She was right. The laughter faded as I looked out the window. Across the street, the protest group had grown. There were more signs now, and in the middle of them, holding a megaphone like a weapon of mass destruction, was Beverly. She was staring right at us. She's not going to stop, I said quietly. No, Tess agreed, her voice hard. She's waiting for us to break. She thinks she can bully us into submission because she has time and money. So what do? Tessa tapped her fingers on the counter, watching Beverly scream into the megaphone across the street. If she wants a show, Tessa said, we give her a show, but we don't play by her rules. We need to go higher. Higher? Like corporate? No, Tessa said. Corporate is useless. I mean political. I mean public. Beverly loves an audience, right? Let's give her the biggest audience she's ever had. I'm gonna make a call. Who are you calling? My cousin, Tessa grinned. He works for the mayor. I looked at her. You're inviting the mayor to a gas station protest? Oh, Mark, she said, pulling out her phone. I'm inviting the whole town. The comedy was over. The siege was just beginning. And if Beverly Lang wanted a war, she was about to find out that she wasn't the only one with nuclear options. The high from the duck dance incident lasted exactly 45 minutes. That's usually the shelf life of joy in the retail world before reality kicks down the door and demands a refund. At 11:30 a.m., a sleek, black sedan pulled into the lot. It wasn't a customer, and it definitely wasn't another one of Beverly's minions. It was something far worse. It was Bradley Knox, the district manager for Ridgeview Fuel. Bradley was a man who lived his entire life inside a spreadsheet. He wore khakis that were always too tight, a polo shirt tucked in with military precision, and the perpetual expression of a man who smelled burnt toast. He didn't care about people. He cared about metrics, brand synergy, and conflict de-escalation. To him, a gas station wasn't a place where people bought fuel. It was a revenue stream that should never, ever be interrupted by drama. He didn't walk into the store. He invaded it. The vein in his forehead was throbbing, pulsing like a warning light. He marched to the counter and slapped a stack of printed emails down so hard the register screen wobbled. "Mark," he barked. "What the hell is going on?" "Good morning, Bradley," I said, trying to maintain composure while my heart hammered against my ribs. "If you're referring to the circus across the street, I am referring to the fact that my phone has been ringing since 6 a.m., he shouted, cutting me off. "The Chamber of Commerce called me. My insurance agent called me. And now I've got 3 emails from the Ridgeview Meadows HOA board threatening a class action lawsuit for community defamation. This station is trending on the town Facebook page, Mark. Trending. They demanded free gas, Bradley," I said, keeping my voice level, though my hands were clenching beneath the counter. "Beverly Lang demanded I charge it to a non-existent account. When I refused, she called 911 and claimed I was holding her hostage." Bradley waved his hand dismissively, as if the truth was just an annoying fly buzzing around his head. "I don't care about the details. I care about the optics. Do you know how much revenue comes from that neighborhood? 80%, Mark. 80% of our premium gas sales walk out that door if they boycott us. So what was I supposed to do?" I asked, feeling the heat rise in my chest. "Let her steal $60 worth of gas? Let her bully us? You should have de-escalated." Bradley snapped. "You comp the gas. You smile. You put it under promotional loss. You don't start a war with the most powerful woman in the zip code." I stared at him. "You want me to reward her for calling the cops on me? She tried to have me arrested. Bradley, she lied to the police." Bradley sighed, rubbing his temples aggressively. "Look, Mark, you're a good employee, but you're expendable. The HOA isn't. I need this fixed. Today." "Fixed how?" I asked, though I already knew I was going to hate the answer. "I want you to go out there." He pointed a stiff finger toward the group of protesters across the street and apologize. The air left the room. Tessa, who had been listening from the coffee station, dropped the spoon. It clattered loudly on the floor, the only sound in the dead silence. "You're joking," I said. "I am not," Bradley said, his voice cold and flat. "You go out there, you apologize for the misunderstanding. You offer to donate $500 to their community fund, which I will authorize, and you get them to leave. If you don't, I'm suspending you pending an investigation into your conduct." Suspension? I felt sick. For doing my job? For damaging the brand. Bradley corrected. "You have 1 hour. Fix it or hand your keys." He turned and walked out, getting into his car and driving away without looking back. He left me standing there, humiliated, with an ultimatum hanging over my head like a guillotine. I leaned against the counter, my hands shaking. It wasn't fear anymore. It was rage. Pure, white-hot rage. I had followed every rule. I had been polite. I had protected the store's money. And now, I was being thrown to the wolves because my boss didn't want to deal with an uncomfortable phone call. "Mark," Tessa said softly. She walked over and stood next to me. "You're not actually going to apologize to her, are you?" I looked out the window. Beverly was there, holding her megaphone, looking triumphant. She had seen Bradley arrive. She had seen him leave. She probably knew exactly what had happened. She was winning. She knew that if she just made enough noise, the corporate cowards would fold. "No," I said. The word tasted like iron. "No, I'm not." "Good," Tessa said. "Because if you did, I'd have to punch you. But if I don't, I lose my job," I said, looking at the name tag pinned to my shirt. 8 years, Tessa. And he's ready to toss me out because Beverly Lang wanted a victory lap. He said, "You have an hour," Tessa noted, checking the time. "That's a lot of time in politics." "What does that mean?" "It means we stop playing defense," Tessa said. Her eyes were dark and serious. "Bradley wants you to apologize to save the brand? Fine, let's save the brand. But not by bowing down to her." She pulled out her phone. "My cousin said the mayor is interested, but he needs a reason to show up. He can't just come to a gas station protest. He needs an event." "An event?" "Yeah." Tessa grinned, a dangerous, sharp grin, like a community unity rally. Or maybe a public forum on small business rights. "Tessa, what are you doing?" "I'm texting the mayor," she said, typing furiously. "I'm telling him that the sheriff is already here, which he will be. I'll text Cole next, and that Beverly is making unauthorized claims about city ordinances. The mayor hates when the HOA tries to act like the city government. It drives him nuts. She looked up at me. We're going to invite them all, Mark. The mayor, the sheriff, the local news. We're going to turn this little parking lot protest into the biggest town hall meeting Cedar Ridge has ever seen. And we're going to let Beverly speak. Why would we want her to speak? I asked, confused. She's crazy. Exactly, Tessa said. She's crazy. But right now, she's crazy in a vacuum. She's only shouting at her friends. We need her to shout at the people who actually have power. We need her to say the quiet parts out loud in front of the mayor. I looked at the clock. 11:45 a.m. I had 45 minutes before Bradley expected my resignation or my apology. Do it, I said. Burn it down. Tessa hit send. Oh, she added. And I'm posting on the town forum that we're giving away free donuts to anyone who comes to witness the historic peace talks at noon. We don't have donuts, I pointed out. I have a box of stale ones in the back and a lot of optimism, she said. Let's get to work. The trap was set. Bradley wanted a resolution. He was going to get one. Beverly wanted attention. She was going to get it. But she was about to learn the most important lesson of public relations. Never demand a spotlight unless you're ready for people to see your flaws. I took off my apron, rolled up my sleeves, and walked to the door. Where are you going? Tessa asked. To unlock the pumps, I said. If the mayor is coming, I want the store to look open for business. And I want Beverly to see me standing outside, smiling. I walked out into the heat. Beverly saw me immediately. She raised her megaphone. He surrenders, she shouted to her 3 followers. The tyrant emerges. I didn't say a word. I just leaned against the ice machine, crossed my arms, and waited. The black SUV of Mayor Dan Huxley turned the corner at 11:58 a.m. It was showtime. They say you should never interrupt your enemy when they are making a mistake. In Beverly Lang's case, I didn't just let her make a mistake. I handed her a megaphone and invited an audience to watch her do it. By 12:05 p.m., the parking lot of Ridgeview Fuel and Supply had transformed from a gas station into a surreal town square. Because Tessa had posted about free donuts in a historic peace summit on the community forum, a crowd had actually gathered. It was a bizarre mix of Beverly's angry HOA minions in matching polo shirts, confused teenagers looking for free sugar, and a handful of retirees who just enjoyed watching public arguments. Tessa was handing out the donuts, which were dry enough to be used as building materials. With the grace of a diplomat, I stood by the ice machine, arms crossed, watching the clock. I had 25 minutes before Bradley, my spineless district manager, would expect my apology or my resignation. But then, the trap sprung. A sleek black SUV with government plates rolled into the lot, followed closely by Sheriff Cole's cruiser. The crowd quieted down. Even the teenagers stopped chewing. Mayor Dan Huxley stepped out of the SUV. If you don't know Mayor Huxley, imagine a man who looks like he was carved out of granite and exhausted patience. He was a former military engineer who ran the town of Cedar Ridge with a focus on potholes and budgets, and he had a well-documented hatred for drama. He adjusted his suit jacket, scanned the circus in front of him, the glittery signs, the shouting women, the sad box of donuts, and frowned. Beverly saw him and lit up like a Christmas tree. She clearly thought he was here for her. In her mind, the mayor was the ultimate manager she could speak to. She rushed toward him, her heels clicking on the asphalt, megaphone swinging from her hip. "Mayor Huxley," she cried out, her voice trembling with theatrical relief. "Thank goodness. You're finally here. The National Guard should have been sent, but you will do." Huxley didn't smile. He watched her approach with the wariness of a man watching a live wire dance on wet pavement. Sheriff Cole stepped up beside him, arms crossed, sunglasses on, looking like the Grim Reaper of fun. "Beverly," the mayor said, his voice deep and echoing in the sudden silence of the lot. "Sheriff Warren tells me there's a civil disturbance blocking a local business. Care to explain why you turned a gas station into a block party?" "Disturbance?" Beverly gasped, clutching her pearls. She was literally wearing pearls. "Mayor, this is not a disturbance. This is a stand for justice. This business," she pointed a shaking finger at me, "is engaged in targeted harassment of the Ridgeview Meadows community." I stayed silent. I didn't move. I let her talk. "Harassment?" Huxley asked, raising a thick eyebrow. "How so?" "They refused service," Beverly shouted, playing to crowd now. "They denied fuel to an official HOA patrol vehicle, during a safety sweep. They are endangering our homes. They are holding our safety hostage for petty financial gain. Petty financial gain, Huxley repeated slowly. You mean payment for the gas? Beverly faltered for a microsecond, but she recovered fast. It is the principle, Mayor. We are the backbone of this town's economy. We demand an account be opened and this clerk, she sneered in my direction, refused. He was hostile. He was aggressive. I had to call 911 to protect myself. The mayor turned to Sheriff Cole. Sheriff, you took the call yesterday. Was there a hostage situation? Cole didn't even blink. No, Mr. Mayor. There was a declined debit card and a temper tantrum. A ripple of laughter went through the crowd. Beverly's face turned a violent shade of red. That is a lie, she shrieked, losing her composure. She raised a megaphone to her lips, amplifying her screeching voice to a deafening volume. The police are corrupt. The sheriff is protecting this business because they are in cahoots. This is a conspiracy against homeowners. The feedback from the megaphone squealed, making everyone wince. Mayor Huxley stepped forward. He didn't need a megaphone. He had dad voice, which was far more powerful. Beverly, put the toy away, he ordered. She lowered the megaphone, looking stunned. I am exercising my First Amendment rights. You are blocking a public easement, Huxley corrected sharply. And more importantly, you are making very serious accusations. You are claiming this business is endangering the community. You are claiming the sheriff is corrupt. Those are big words. They are true, she insisted, though she looked less like a leader and more like a cornered animal. We are the victims here. The HOA demands. The HOA demands? Huxley interrupted. He looked past her, toward the small group of HOA board members who were standing near the donut table. They were looking very uncomfortable. I see Henry and Susan over there from the board. Henry stepped forward. Henry, a quiet man who usually just wanted to talk about his koi pond, looked terrified. He shuffled forward. Henry, the mayor asked, did the Ridgeview Meadows board vote to authorize a blockade of this gas station? Henry looked at Beverly. Beverly's eyes were wide, pleading, threatening. Then Henry looked at the mayor. No, sir, Henry stammered. We didn't. Did the board authorize Beverly to demand free gas on behalf of the community? No, sir, Henry said, gaining a little more confidence. We give her a mileage reimbursement check every month. She has funds for gas. The crowd gasped. It was a genuine soap opera gasp. I smiled. The trap hadn't just sprung. It had snapped her leg off. Beverly spun around to face Henry. You traitor, she hissed. I am the president. I make executive decisions for the safety of... You are stealing, the mayor cut in, his voice cold. If you are taking reimbursement money and demanding free gas, that's fraud, Beverly. Beverly froze. The word fraud hung in the air like a guillotine blade. She looked around frantically. She saw the teenagers filming her with their phones. She saw her friends backing away. She saw me, leaning against the ice machine, still alive, still employed and smiling. She realized, perhaps for the first time, that she wasn't a hero. But Beverly Lang didn't know how to surrender. She only knew how to double down. This is a setup, she screamed, pointing the megaphone at the mayor now. You are all against me. I am the only one fighting for this town. I will have you recalled Mayor Huxley. I will sue the city. I will sue the sheriff. I will sue this gas station until it is nothing but a hole in the ground. Are you threatening a sitting mayor with a frivolous lawsuit in front of 50 witnesses and a police officer? Huxley asked calmly. It is not a threat. Beverly roared, stepping closer to him, invading his personal space. It is a promise. I run this town, not you. The HOA is the real power here, and I am the HOA. She was foaming at the mouth. She was unhinged. She was perfect. Sheriff Cole stepped between them. Ma'am, back up. Now! Don't touch me! She swatted at Cole's arm. The crowd went silent. You do not touch the sheriff. You definitely do not swat at the sheriff while screaming at the mayor. Cole caught her wrist. He didn't hurt her, but he held her firm. Beverly Lang, he said, his voice devoid of any humor. You are pushing your luck to a place you can't come back from. Let go of me, she screamed. I am the president. Not for long, Tessa whispered from behind the camera. Mayor Huxley sighed, brushed imaginary dust off his lapel, and looked at the crowd. He looked directly at the camera Tessa was holding. Folks, the mayor announced, I think we've seen enough. This isn't a protest. This is a public nuisance led by a woman who believes she is above the law. He turned back to Beverly, who was hyperventilating in Cole's grip. Beverly, I suggest you get in your car and go home, Huxley said. Right now, before the sheriff decides that assaulting an officer is worth a ride in the backseat. Beverly yanked her arm free. She looked at the mayor, then at Henry, then at me. She was vibrating with humiliation and rage. You will all pay, she whispered. It wasn't a scream this time. It was a curse. But before she could storm off, before she could escape with a shred of dignity, Henry, quiet, Koi-Pon Henry, cleared his throat. Actually, Beverly, Henry said, his voice shaking but loud enough to be heard. You can't go home just yet. We need the keys. The keys? She blinked. What keys? The keys to the clubhouse, Henry said, and the HOA credit card. Because I'm calling for an emergency vote of no confidence. Right now. The crowd erupted. I checked my watch. 12:28 p.m. I pulled out my phone and texted Bradley. Situation handled. No apology needed. Check the news tonight. The trap hadn't just worked. It had started a revolution. The air in the parking lot was so thick with tension, you could have cut it with a squeegee. When Henry, the mild-mannered HOA treasurer who looked like he apologized to furniture when he bumped into it, demanded the keys to the clubhouse, the silence was absolute. It was the kind of silence that usually precedes a gunshot or a marriage proposal. In this case, it was a political assassination. Beverly Lang stood frozen, her mouth slightly open, the megaphone dangling uselessly at her side. Her brain was frantically trying to process the betrayal. Henry wasn't supposed to have a spine. Henry was supposed to approve her landscape budget and gnaw it silently during her 3-hour monologues about mailbox font sizes. Excuse me? Beverly finally sputtered, her voice sounding thin and reedy without the amplification. What did you just say to me? I said, Henry repeated, his voice gaining strength as he realized he wasn't dead yet. I am calling for a vote of no confidence. Pursuant to Article 7, Section C of the Ridgeview Meadows bylaws, an officer may be removed for conduct detrimental to community. He recited it from memory. It was beautiful. Beverly let out a shrill, incredulous laugh. You can't be serious. You can't call a vote here. This is a gas station parking lot. You need to schedule a meeting. You need notice. You need a quorum. She looked around triumphantly, thinking she had trapped him in a red tape she loved so much. Bureaucracy was her shield, her sword, and her religion. But Henry just adjusted his glasses. Actually, Beverly, he said calmly, you brought the quorum here. He pointed to the crowd. Standing behind Beverly, looking sheepish and holding their stop the steal signs, were 3 other board members. Susan, secretary, Dave, VP, and Linda, member at large. Beverly had dragged them out of their homes at 7 a.m. to act as her cheering section. We have 5 out of 7 board members present, Henry noted. That constitutes a quorum. And since you declared this an official community action on Facebook Live this morning, this counts as an emergency assembly. Tessa, standing next to me, let out a low whistle. Damn, he used her own bylaws against her. That is cold. It's poetic, I whispered back. Beverly whipped around to face her board members. Her eyes were wide and manic. You wouldn't dare. I made you. I put you on this board. Susan? Dave? Susan, a woman who usually looked like she was afraid of her own shadow, looked at the mayor, then at the sheriff, and finally at the teenagers who were live-streaming the meltdown on TikTok. She slowly lowered her protest sign. Beverly, Susan said quietly, you called the cops on a gas station clerk. You screamed at the mayor. You lied about the funds. It's too much. We look like lunatics. I was protecting our property values. Beverly screamed. The mask was slipping now. The poised, bless your heart, southern charm was gone, replaced by the raw, ugly desperation of a narcissist losing control. I am the only thing standing between this neighborhood and chaos. Without me, people will paint their shutters blue. They'll leave trash cans out until Wednesday. I am the HOA. And that's the problem, Henry said. He looked at the other board members. All in favor of removing Beverly Lang as president, effective immediately, signified by raising your hand. Henry's hand shot up. Susan's hand went up. Dave looked at his shoes, sighed, and raised his hand. Linda, who had been holding the megaphone case for Beverly, dropped it and raised both hands. The motion carries, Henry announced. 4-1. 5. A deep voice boomed. We all turned. Mayor Huxley was raising his hand. "I don't have a vote," the mayor said, a small smile playing on his lips. "But I'd like the record to show the city of Cedar Ridge supports this motion." The crowd erupted. It wasn't polite applause. It was the roar of the Coliseum. The teenagers cheered. The retirees clapped. Even the delivery driver, who had been blocked in for 20 minutes, honked his horn. Beverly stood alone in the center of the asphalt circle, surrounded by the people she thought she owned. She looked like a statue cracking under pressure. Her face cycled through a dozen emotions: shock, denial, bargaining, rage, before settling on pure, distilled hatred. "You can't do this," she whispered. Tears of fury pricked her eyes. "I built this community." "You policed it," Henry corrected. "There's a difference. Now the keys, Beverly, and the credit card." She stared at him for a long moment. I thought she might throw the megaphone at him. I thought she might attack him. Sheriff Cole took a half step forward, his hand resting near his belt, ready to intervene. But Beverly Lang was, above all else, concerned with her image, and she realized that being tackled by a sheriff in a gas station parking lot would be the only thing worse than being fired. With trembling hands, she reached into her designer bag. She fished out a heavy ring of keys and a silver credit card. She held them out, but when Henry reached for them, she dropped them on the dirty pavement. "Oops," she sneered. Henry didn't flinch. He bent down, picked them up, and pocketed them. "Thank you, Ms. Lang. You will receive a formal letter regarding the transition of power. In the meantime, please refrain from contacting any vendors on behalf of the association." "And," Sheriff Cole added, stepping into her line of sight, "since you are no longer acting in an official capacity, if you continue to block this business or harass these employees, I won't be writing a ticket next time. I'll be writing an arrest report for trespassing and disorderly conduct." Beverly looked at the sheriff. She looked at me. Our eyes locked for one final second. I didn't gloat. I didn't smile. I just looked at her with the same neutral expression I used when telling a customer we were out of lottery tickets. Game over. She turned on her heel, her hair whipping around her face. "I am leaving," she announced to no one in particular. "But don't think you've seen the last of me. You'll regret this. All of you will rot." She marched to her white Lexus, threw herself into the driver's seat, and slammed the door. She gunned the engine, threw it into reverse without looking, and nearly backed into the mayor's SUV before screeching out of the lot. As her car disappeared down the road, the tension in the air evaporated instantly. It was like a spell had been broken. Susan, the new interim secretary, or whatever she was, walked over to the trash can near the pumps. She took her "free gas is a right" sign and shoved it deep into the bin. The other board members followed suit, discarding their signs like they were disposing of evidence. Henry walked up to me at the counter, looking exhausted but strangely lighter. "I'm sorry, Mark," Henry said, extending a hand. "Ideally, we would have done that in a boardroom, not next to an ice machine. But, well," she forced our hand. "No apology needed, Henry." I shook his hand. "You guys just saved my job, and probably my sanity." "We'll be conducting an audit," Henry said, lowering his voice. The mayor wasn't wrong. If she was using funds for personal gas, that's just the tip of the iceberg. We suspected things for a while, but everyone was too afraid to speak up. Well, I gestured to the empty spot where Beverly had stood. Fear has left the building. The mayor and Sheriff Cole approached next. The mayor bought a Gatorade. The sheriff bought a pack of gum. "Nice work, son," Cole said, chewing a piece of gum. "You handled that better than most deputies would have." "I just stood here, Sheriff," I said. "Sometimes," the mayor added, opening his Gatorade. "Standing your ground is the hardest part. You exposed the problem we've been trying to solve for years. The city thanks you." They left, and slowly, the crowd dispersed. The teenagers wandered off to find better Wi-Fi. The board members drove away to try and salvage their dignity. By 1:30 p.m., the lot was empty. Just me, Tessa, and the hum of the slushy machine. Tessa leaned against the counter, staring at the spot where the coup had happened. "So," she said, "she's gone. Fired. Humiliated. Stripped of power." "Yep," I said, wiping down the counter. "We won." "It feels too easy," Tessa frowned. "Beverly isn't the type to just drive away and fade into obscurity. She threatened to sue the Sun once, remember? She has no power, Tessa. The board turned on her. The law turned on her. She's got nothing. She has money," Tessa countered. "And she has spite. And those two things together are more dangerous than an HOA title. I looked out the window. The street was quiet. The sun was shining. But as I watched the white SUV drive past in the distance, I couldn't shake the feeling that Tessa was right. We had cut off the head of the snake, but the body was still thrashing around somewhere. Beverly Lang had lost her crown, but she hadn't lost her teeth. Let's just enjoy the silence while it lasts. I said, okay, Tessa agreed, but I'm keeping security footage, just in case the sequel is a legal drama. She was joking, but she wasn't wrong. The public execution was over. Now came the haunting. There is a specific kind of silence that follows a hurricane. The wind dies down, the rain stops, and the birds start chirping again, but everything feels wrong. The air is too still. The pressure is too low. That was exactly what life at Ridgeview Fuel felt like in the week following Beverly Lang's public execution. Technically, we had won. The emergency parking lot coup had worked. Beverly was out. Henry, the nervous treasurer, was now the interim president, and the HOA had officially stopped trying to blockade our pumps. The protests stopped. The signs were gone. The teenagers went back to TikToking elsewhere. It should have been a victory lap, but it wasn't. I hate this, Tessa said on Tuesday morning, staring out the window at the empty street. It's too quiet. It's like the beginning of a horror movie where the family moves into the house and finds a doll that blinks. Enjoy the peace, Tessa, I said, restocking the menthol cigarettes. We slew the dragon. The village is safe. We didn't slay her, Mark. We just took her scepter, Tessa countered. Beverly Lang doesn't just retire to a life of gardening and introspection. She's out there, plotting. I can feel in my bones. My retail PTSD is tingling. As it turned out, Tessa's retail PTSD was dead accurate. The first sign that the war wasn't over came in the form of a notification on the store iPad. We use a service that aggregates online reviews, mostly so we can laugh at people complaining that our ice is too cold. Suddenly, the notification bell started pinging. Ping, 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 ping. What is that? I asked. Tessa walked over to the iPad. Her face went pale. Mark, come look at this. I walked over. In the span of 20 minutes, Ridgeview Fuel and Supply had received 47 new one-star reviews on Google, Yelp, and Facebook. I started reading them out loud. Terrible service. The clerk threw a hot dog at my child. 1 star. User, Liberty Lover 1776. I saw rats dancing on the soda fountain. The rats looked sick. Unsanitary. User, Clean Streets Mom. This business funds anti-American activities and hates homeowners. Also, the bathroom smells like sulfur. User, Real Patriot for Life. They're bots, Tessa said, scrolling furiously. Or worse, they're Beverly's Bridge Club. Look at the timestamps. They're all posted within seconds of each other. She's review bombing us. Does she really think this works? I sighed. We're a gas station, not a Michelin star restaurant. People come here because their fuel light is on, not because they read a Yelp review about our ambience. It's not about the business, Mark, Tessa said grimly. It's about the noise. She's trying to ruin our algorithm. She wants us to disappear digitally. That was annoying, but manageable. We reported the reviews as spam and moved on, but the ghost of the HOA was just warming up. At 1 p.m., a white van pulled into the lot. It wasn't a customer. It bore the seal of the county health department. A man stepped out, holding a clipboard and looking deeply unhappy. He walked into the store, wrinkled his nose, and announced, "I'm Inspector Henderson. We received an anonymous tip regarding a severe rodent infestation in your food preparation area." "We don't have a food preparation area," I said. "We sell pre-packaged Twinkies and hot dogs that rotate on a metal cylinder." The tip was specific, Henderson said, clicking his pen. It alleged that a colony of possums was living inside the slushy machine. Tessa snorted. Possums? Inside the machine? "Sir, do you know how physics works?" "I have to check," Henderson sighed. "Anonymous tips are mandatory investigations." He spent an hour tearing the store apart. He checked the fridge, the floor drains, the ceiling tiles. He checked the slushy machine, which, surprisingly, contained 0 possums. He found absolutely nothing because I run a clean shop. "Well," Henderson said, wiping his hands on a rag. "Clean bill of health. Sorry to bother you." The caller was persistent. She called 4 times in an hour, said she was a concerned community leader. Did she sound like she had recently been fired from a homeowners association? I asked. Henderson cracked a small smile. I can't reveal the source, but let's just say she asked to speak to my manager when I told her I couldn't shut you down over phone. He left. I looked at Tessa. Okay, so she's weaponizing the bureaucracy. First the reviews, then the health inspector. Tessa counted on her fingers. What's next? The FBI. 2 hours later, the fire marshal showed up. Anonymous tip, the marshal said. Looking bored. Blocked fire exits and stockpiling of illegal fireworks. We don't sell fireworks, I said, exhausted. I know, the marshal said, but she sent a photo. A Photoshop photo. It looked like she pasted a picture of a dynamite crate onto your lobby. He did a quick walkthrough, signed a form, and left. This is death by 1,000 cuts, I said, leaning on the counter. She knows she can't protest anymore, so she's going to annoy us into submission. She's trying to get us fined, inspected, or shut down on a technicality. It's harassment, Tessa said. Can we call Cole? And say what? That the health department did their job? That people are leaving mean reviews? It's all technically legal. It's malicious compliance. She's playing the system. But the scariest part wasn't the inspectors. It wasn't the reviews. It was what happened when the sun went down. Around 8:30 p.m., the lot was dark except for the harsh fluorescent glow of the canopy. I was taking out the trash to the dumpster around the back. It was quiet. The crickets were chirping. Then I felt it. That primal sensation of being watched. I looked toward the street. Parked just beyond the edge of our property line, sitting in the shadows of a large oak tree, was a white Lexus SUV. The engine was off. The lights were off. But the silhouette was unmistakable. I froze, holding the trash bag. The car just sat there. It was like a shark waiting in deep water. I couldn't see inside, but I knew she was there. I knew she was watching me. I walked back inside, locking the door behind me a little faster than usual. She's out there, I told Tessa. Who? Beverly. She's sitting in her car across the street, just watching. Tessa walked the window and peered out. That is psycho behavior. Is she stalking us? She's haunting us. I corrected. She can't come on the property or she gets arrested for trespassing. So she's hovering. She wants us to know she's still here. She wants us to look over our shoulders. It's working, Tessa shivered. I hate this more than the screaming. The screaming was funny. This is serial killer vibes. The phone rang. We both jumped. The landline at the gas station almost never rang unless it was a wrong number or Bradley asking why sales were down. I picked up slowly. Ridge View Fuel, this is Mark. Silence. Hello. Nothing. Just a faint, rhythmic sound of breathing. Not heavy, scary breathing. Just calm, steady, deliberate breathing. Beverly, I said into the receiver. I know it's you. You're not scaring anyone. You're just wasting minutes. The breathing stopped. Then, a soft, chilling click as the line went dead. I hung up. My hand was trembling slightly. Silent treatment? Tessa asked. Yep. Okay, Tessa said, grabbing her purse. That's it. I'm done being the victim. She wants to be a ghost? Fine. We need to call Ghostbusters. Or a lawyer. We can't afford a lawyer, I reminded her. And she hasn't done anything illegal yet. Staring isn't a crime. Breathing isn't a crime. Yet, Tessa said, but she's escalating. Yesterday was bots. Today was inspectors. Tonight is stalking. She's building up to something, Mark. She's not just mad. She's obsessed. She has nothing left in her life but this feud. We took her identity. Now she wants ours. I looked out the window again. The white Lexus was gone, but the feeling remained. The sense that the store wasn't safe anymore. The feeling that every shadow held a citation, and every car held a woman who had lost her mind. The war for the gas station wasn't over. The battlefield had just shifted from the parking lot to the shadows. And as I turned off the lights to close up for the night, I realized that fighting a screaming Karen was easy. Fighting a silent one, that was a nightmare. We thought the inspection bots and the one-star reviews were the climax of Beverly's revenge tour. We were wrong. Those were just the opening acts. The main event walked through the door at 10 a.m. on Wednesday, wearing a three-piece suit that cost more than my entire year's rent and carrying a leather briefcase that smelled like billable hours. But before the suit arrived, the county arrived. At 9:15 a.m., a white pickup truck with the City of Cedar Ridge seal on the door pulled up. A man in a high-vis vest and a hard hat stepped out, unrolled a massive scroll of blueprints on the hood of his truck, and began measuring the distance from our fuel pumps to the sidewalk with a laser device. "Here we go," Tessa groaned, watching from the window. "Is he measuring for a parade route or a demolition?" I walked outside. "Can I help you?" The man looked up. He had the weary eyes of a public servant who had been yelled at by homeowners for 30 years. "I'm Todd Maddox, Senior Code Enforcement. I'm checking your setbacks." "Setbacks?" "Yeah," Todd said, pointing the laser at the corner of the store. "We received a Priority 1 complaint alleging that this structure violates the 1998 Commercial Zoning Ordinance by 3 inches. The complaint states that your slushy machine room is encroaching on a public easement." I stared at him. 3 inches? "You're checking if we are 3 inches over the line." "If you are," Todd said, looking at his blueprints, "the complainant is demanding we condemn the building and order a partial demolition." "Let me guess," I said, "the complainant drives a white Lexus?" Todd cracked a smile. "I can't reveal that, but let's just say she attached a 20-page manifesto about architectural lawlessness to the report." He spent 20 minutes measuring. He measured the curb. He measured the sign. He measured the distance to the fire hydrant. Finally, he rolled up his tape. "Well," I asked, holding my breath. "You're fine," Todd said, shaking his head. "Actually, you're 6 feet under the limit. The building is perfectly legal. Whoever filed this, she's working off a map from 1974. She wasted my morning." "Sorry about that, Todd." "Don't worry," he said, climbing back into his truck. "I'm flagging her address in our system as a vexatious complainant, meaning next time she calls, it goes straight to voicemail." He drove off. I felt a wave of relief, but it was short-lived, because as Todd's truck exited the left side of the lot, a sleek, silver Mercedes entered from the right. The man who stepped out was polished. His hair was perfect. His shoes shone like mirrors, and he moved with the predatory grace of a shark in expensive fabric. He didn't look at the pumps. He didn't look at the snacks. He looked directly at me. He walked into the store, placed a heavy car on the counter, and smiled without showing his teeth. "Mr. Dawson?" he asked. His voice was smooth, like expensive bourbon. "That's me. I am Samuel Trent," he said. "I am an attorney representing Mrs. Beverly Lang." The air in the store vanished. Tessa stopped breathing. "Okay," I said, my throat suddenly dry. "What can I do for you?" "I am here to serve you with a cease and desist order," he said, sliding a thick envelope across the counter. "And to inform you that we are preparing a civil lawsuit for defamation of character, intentional infliction of emotional distress, and loss of reputation." I stared at the envelope. "Defamation?" She called the cops on me. "My client alleges," Samuel continued, opening his briefcase and pulling out a notepad, "that you orchestrated a public smear campaign. She claims you doctored security footage, incited a riot in your parking lot, and conspired with local officials, specifically the mayor and sheriff, to humiliate her publicly. She has lost her position as HOA President, her standing in the community, and has suffered severe psychological trauma. She is seeking $500,000 in damages." $500,000? I laughed. It was a hysterical, terrified laugh. "Does she think I have that kind of money? I work at a gas station, man. I make $14 an hour. We are also naming the business entity in the suit," Samuel said calmly. "And your manager, Mr. Knox." That was the dagger. If Bradley got sued because of me, I was fired. Guaranteed. "This is insane," Tessa snapped, stepping forward. "She came here. She screamed at us. She called 911 because she didn't want to pay." "According to Mrs. Lang," Samuel said, checking his notes, "she was attempting to negotiate a corporate contract, and Mr. Dawson responded with verbal abuse and physical intimidation, effectively holding her hostage until she signed a waiver under duress." "She told you I held her hostage?" I asked. "Yes, and that you then invited a mob to harass her." I looked at Samuel Trent. He seemed like a smart man. A shark. Yes, but a smart one. He was working off the information his client gave him. And Beverly Lang was a liar. "Mr. Trent," I said, my voice steadying, "did she show you the video?" Samuel paused. "She described the events." "Did she show you the video?" I repeated, "Because there is video. High definition with audio from 3 different angles." Samuel's eyes flickered. "I have not reviewed the raw footage yet." "No." "Tessa," I said, "play it." Tessa whipped out her phone and connected it to the store's Bluetooth speaker. She pulled up the video of the hostage situation. We watched in silence. We watched Beverly storm in. We heard her demand free gas. We heard me politely refuse. We heard her scream, "I am a hostage," to the 911 operator while I stood 4 feet away cleaning the counter. Then, Tessa played the video of the protest. We watched Beverly scream at the mayor. We watched her swat at the sheriff. We heard her admit to using HOA funds for gas. Samuel Trent watched the whole thing. His face remained neutral, but I saw his jaw clench. He was a professional, but he was realizing something very important. His client had lied to him. When the video ended, silence returned to the store. "That," I said, pointing at the phone, "is what happened. If you sue me for defamation, I will play that video in court. And I will countersue for malicious prosecution. And the sheriff will testify. And the mayor will testify." Samuel Trent closed his notepad. He took a long, slow breath. He adjusted his cufflinks. "Mr. Dawson," he said, his tone slightly different now. Less predatory, more weary. "My client omitted certain details regarding her interaction with law enforcement. She lied," Tessa corrected. "In legal terms," Samuel said, picking up the cease and desist letter from the counter and sliding it back into his briefcase, "we call it material misrepresentation. It makes a case difficult to litigate." He clicked his briefcase shut. "I need to have a very serious conversation with Mrs. Lang," Samuel said. "If she misrepresented the facts to this degree, I cannot proceed with the filing as currently drafted." "Does that mean you're not suing us?" I asked. "It means," Samuel said, heading for the door, "that I charge for $100 an hour, and Mrs. Lang is about to spend a significant amount of money to hear me tell her to stop digging her own grave." He paused at the door and looked back. "For the record, the Duck Dance story she told me. She claimed you forced federal agents to strip search. Seeing reality is illuminating." He walked out. Tessa and I watched him get into his Mercedes. He sat there for a moment, phone to his ear, rubbing his forehead. I could almost hear him screaming internally. "She tried the nuclear option," Tessa whispered. "She tried to demolish the building and sue us into poverty. And she just accidentally handed her own lawyer the evidence that she's crazy," I said. My phone buzzed. It was a text from Henry, the new HOA president. "Mark, just a heads up. The HOA board just finished our internal audit of Beverly's finances. You might want to sit down. We found the gas fund wasn't the only thing she was stealing." I looked at Tessa. A slow smile spread across my face. "Tessa," I said, "the lawyer is gone. The zoning guy is gone. And I think the HOA is about to finish her off for us. Beverly had tried to use the law to destroy me, but she forgot the most important rule of the legal system. Never lie to the guy you're paying to protect you. The legal assault had failed. Now, it was time for the counterattack. There are two ways a war ends. The first is a treaty, a handshake, and a mutual agreement to stop fighting. The second is total annihilation, where one side is left standing and the other side is reduced to ash and legal fees. We got the second one. The text from Henry, the interim HOA president, had been cryptic. "We found things. You might want to sit down." I spent the next hour pacing behind the counter, wondering what could possibly be worse than fake inspections and a failed lawsuit. Had she wiretapped the clubhouse? Had she declared independence from the United States? At 2 p.m., Henry's Volvo pulled into the lot. He didn't look like the nervous, koi pond-loving man I'd met days ago. He looked pale, shaken, like a man who had just looked into the Ark of the Covenant and lived to tell the tale. He was carrying a thick, black binder. He walked into the store, placed the binder on the counter with a heavy thud, and ordered a black coffee. His hands were trembling. "Mark," Henry said, staring into the dark liquid as if it held the secret to the universe. "I owe you an apology. The whole board owes you an apology. We thought she was just enthusiastic, power-hungry, sure. But we didn't think she was a criminal." "Criminal?" I asked. Tessa stopped stocking the chips and walked over. "Like, jaywalking criminal? Or Dateline NBC criminal?" Henry opened the binder. It was filled with spreadsheets, bank statements, and highlighted receipts. "Embezzlement," Henry whispered. "Grand larceny. Fraud. Forgery. Take your pick." He pointed to a column of numbers. "We started auditing the Community Safety Fund. That's the account she tried to charge her gas to. Beverly has been withdrawing $500 a month from that fund for fuel expenses for the last 3 years. She claimed she was driving a patrol car 2,000 miles a month. The patrol car is a golf cart in her personal Lexus," I noted. You can't drive 2,000 miles inside a gated community unless you're doing laps for 24 hours a day. Exactly, Henry said. But that's just the crumbs. We looked at the landscaping contracts. The company we pay $40,000 a year to, it's owned by our brother-in-law. We looked at the consulting fees for legal advice. They went to a shell company registered to her home address. Tessa gasped. She was laundering money through the tulips? She was draining us dry, Henry said, his voice hardening. We think she's stolen over $80,000 in the last 4 years. She renovated her kitchen on the clubhouse maintenance budget. She went to Cabo San Lucas on the emergency reserve fund. I looked at the numbers. It was staggering. This woman, who screamed at neighbors for leaving their trash cans out 10 minutes too long, was robbing them blind with one hand while writing citations with the other. Why did she blow up at me? I asked, putting the pieces together. If she had all this money, why did she risk everything over $60 of gas? Because the pot was empty, Henry said grimly. That's what we figured out this morning. She tapped the accounts dry last week to pay for her lawyer, to fight the board. She was broke. She needed to charge the gas to the HOA because she literally didn't have the cash to cover it, and she was terrified that if she used her personal card, it would bounce. So the 911 call was panic. Henry nodded. She was a cornered animal. She knew the annual audit was coming up next month. She was trying to project power, to intimidate everyone into backing off, so she could figure out a way to hide the missing money. When you told her no, you didn't just deny her gas. You threatened the house of cards. The realization hit me. I hadn't just fought a rude customer. I had inadvertently pulled the loose thread that unraveled a massive financial crime ring operating out of a suburban living room. So what happens now? Tessa asked. Now. Henry closed the binder. We went to the police this morning. We gave them everything. The fake invoices, the bank transfers, the forged signatures. As if on cue, the sound of sirens cut through the afternoon air. Not one siren. Not two. A chorus of them. We all looked out the window. 2 sheriff's cruisers and an unmarked black sedan flew past the gas station, lights blazing, heading straight up the hill toward the gates of Ridgeview Meadows. That, Henry said, checking his watch, will be Sheriff Cole executing the warrant. Can we watch? Tessa asked, grabbing her keys. Please tell me we can watch. Henry allowed himself a small, vindictive smile. I believe the arrest is taking place on a public street. I can't stop you from buying a soda at the vending machine near the clubhouse. We locked the store. I put up a sign that said "Gone Fishing for Justice," and we jumped into Henry's car. When we arrived at the entrance of Ridgeview Meadows, it was chaos. But it was a beautiful chaos. The white Lexus was parked in Beverly's driveway. The police cruisers were blocking the street. Neighbors were coming out of their houses. People had been fined for bird feeders. People who had been yelled at for parking on the street. People who had lived in fear of Beverly's clipboard for years. They stood on their lawns, arms crossed, watching. Sheriff Cole was at the front door. He knocked, firmly. Beverly Lang, his voice boomed. Sheriff's Department. We have a warrant for your arrest. The door didn't open. Beverly, open the door, Cole repeated. Don't make us breach. A curtain twitched in the upstairs window. She's hiding, Tessa whispered. She's actually hiding. She's calling her lawyer, I guessed, the one who quit yesterday. Minutes passed. The tension was electric. Then, slowly, the front door creaked open. Beverly Lang stepped out. She wasn't wearing her blazer. She wasn't wearing her pearls. She was wearing sweatpants and a t-shirt that said, Wine Mom. She looked small, deflated. The air of invincibility was gone, replaced by the terrifying reality of consequences. Cole spoke to her. She nodded, sobbing. He turned her around. And then, the moment happened. The moment every retail worker, every service employee, every neighbor who has ever been bullied dreams of. Sheriff Cole pulled out a pair of silver handcuffs. He clicked them onto Beverly's wrists. Click, click. He walked her down the driveway toward the cruiser. She kept her head down, refusing to look at the neighbors, refusing to look at Henry, refusing to look at me, as Cole guided her into the back seat of the cruiser, putting his hand on her head so she wouldn't bump it. A single sound broke the silence. Someone started clapping, then someone else, then the whole street. It wasn't a raucous cheer. It was a slow, steady applause of relief. The tyrant had fallen. The wicked witch of the HOA was going to county jail. Henry let out a long breath. It's over. Total victory. I said, We drove back to the gas station in silence, but it was a good silence. When we unlocked the doors and turned the lights back on, the phone rang immediately. It was Bradley, my district manager. "Mark," Bradley said. His voice was completely different. No anger, no threats, just pure, unadulterated awe. "I just got a call from the mayor's office. Is it true? Did you all catch an embezzler?" "I just sold gas, Bradley," I said, leaning back in my chair. "The rest just kind of happened." "Well," Bradley stammered, "corporate is very impressed. We're going to issue a statement supporting community integrity. And, I'm approving that raise you asked for last year." "Double it," I said. "What?" "Double the raise, Bradley. Or I give an exclusive interview to the local news about how you try to make me apologize to a felon." There was a long pause. "Done," Bradley said. "Effective Monday." I hung up the phone. Tessa was beaming at me. "You realize you're a legend now, right?" she said. "You didn't just win. You cleared the board." I looked at the empty spot across the street where Beverly used to stage her protests. The sun was setting, casting a warm, golden glow over the asphalt. The war was over. The bad guy was in jail. I got a raise. And the neighborhood was free. But there was one last thing to do. One loose end. "I need to write a letter," I said. "To who?" Tessa asked. "To Beverly," I said. "She sent me a lot of letters. Citations. Threats. I think it's only fair I send her one back." "What are you going to say?" "I'm going to send her a bill," I smiled, "for the coffee she wasted while I was waiting for the cops." The weeks following Beverly Lang's arrest felt like waking up from a fever dream. The constant adrenaline, the fear of inspections, the screaming matches, it all evaporated, leaving behind a silence that Ridgeview Fuel and Supply hadn't known in years. The news cycle moved fast, as it always does. The headline, "HOA President Arrested for Embezzlement," dominated the Cedar Ridge Gazette for 3 days. Then it was replaced by a story about a cat stuck in a storm drain. That's the thing about tyrants. Once they lose their power, they become remarkably boring. Beverly was out on bail, awaiting trial. Rumor had it she was facing 5 to 10 years for grand larceny and fraud. Her lawyer, a new one, since Samuel Trent had wisely fired her, was pleading for a deal, something about diminished capacity due to stress. The town didn't buy it. Life at the station returned to normal, or a new version of normal. People stopped by just to shake my hand. I was no longer gas station Mark. I was the guy who took down Beverly. It was flattering, but also exhausting. I didn't want to be a local folk hero. I just wanted to sell beef jerky without being threatened with a SWAT team. Henry, the new HOA president, was doing a fantastic job. He abolished the mailbox color code, fired the corrupt landscaping company, and actually lowered the monthly dues. The neighborhood of Ridgeview Meadows was slowly healing from the trauma of the Lang regime. I thought I had seen the last of Beverly. I assumed she was hiding in her beige fortress, curtains drawn, waiting for prison. But the universe loves a callback. It was a Tuesday evening, almost exactly 1 month after the initial incident. The sun was setting, casting long, orange shadows across the pumps. Tessa was in the back, counting the till. I was wiping down the counter, lost in thought. A car pulled in. It wasn't a police cruiser. It wasn't a white Lexus SUV that had been seized as evidence. It was a battered, 10-year-old Honda Civic. The driver's door opened, and a woman stepped out. I froze. It was Beverly. But it wasn't the Beverly I knew. The queen of the suburbs was gone. In her place was a woman who looked 20 years older. Her hair, usually sprayed into a helmet of blonde perfection, was pulled back in a messy bun. She wore no makeup. She was wearing jeans and a plain gray sweatshirt. She walked toward the store slowly, her head down. She didn't march. She shuffled. Tessa saw her on the security monitor and came rushing out from the back. "Is that?" "Stay back," I said quietly. "Let's see what happens." Beverly pushed open the glass door. The bell jingled. It sounded loud in the quiet store. She walked to the counter. She didn't make eye contact. She stared at the display of gum. Her hands were trembling slightly. "Mark," she said. Her voice was raspy, like she hadn't used it in days. "Beverly," I replied, keeping my voice neutral. "I think your bail conditions say you're not supposed to be here." "I know," she whispered. "I'm not here to fight. I'm not here to scream." She reached into her pocket. I tensed up, half expecting a weapon or another fake citation. Instead, she pulled out a crumpled $20 bill and 3 singles. She placed the money on the counter. It was exactly $23. What is this? I asked. She finally looked up. Her eyes were red-rimmed and hollow. There was no fire left in them. No entitlement. Just a deep, crushing shame. The gas, she said softly. From the first day, I never paid for the gas I tried to take, or the time I wasted. I looked at the money. Then I looked at her. You didn't actually pump any gas that day, Beverly. I reminded her. You just yelled. I know, she said, her voice cracking. But I owe it. I owe a lot of things. She took a shaky breath. My house is for sale. The bank is foreclosing. My husband left to stay with his sister in Ohio. My friends won't return my calls. Even the bridge club removed me. She let out a dry, humorless laugh. I spent 10 years trying to control everything. The grass height, the trash cans, the stop signs. I thought if I controlled it all, I would be safe. I thought I mattered. She looked around the dusty gas station. And I lost it all, she whispered, because I couldn't handle being told no by a clerk. It was a pathetic sight. Part of me wanted to be angry. Part of me wanted to tell her she deserved it. Which she did. She had terrorized people. She had stolen money. She had tried to ruin my life. But looking at her now, stripped of her power, her money, and her dignity, I didn't feel anger. I just felt pity. She was a small, sad woman who had built a castle out of ego, and now she was buried under the rubble. Keep the money, Beverly, I said, pushing the bills back toward her. You're going to need it more than I do. She stared at the cash. A tear leaked out and rolled down her cheek. I can't, she said. I need to pay. I need to clear the ledger. Please. She turned and walked to the door. Beverly, I called out. She stopped, hand on the handle. Good luck, I said, truly. She nodded once, didn't look back, and walked out to her battered Honda. She drove away slowly, obeying the speed limit, using her turn signal. A perfect, law-abiding citizen. Tessa walked up beside me. She looked at the $23 on the counter. She actually paid, Tessa said, sounding stunned. Yeah, I said. She did. Does this mean we forgive her? No, I said, picking up the money. Forgiveness is for mistakes. What she did was a choice. But we can move on. I took the $23 and dropped it into the donation jar for the local animal shelter that sat by the register. Karma, I said. It finally balanced out. We closed the store early that night. We sat on the curb, drinking sodas, watching the cars go by. The saga of the HOA president was over. The signs were gone. The lawsuits were dropped. The ghost had been exorcised. I learned a lot that month. I learned that power reveals who you really are. I learned that the loudest person in the room is usually the most fragile. And I learned that you should never, ever underestimate a gas station clerk with a security camera and a backbone. Some people think they own the world because they have a title or a badge or a homeowners association presidency. But the truth is, nobody owns anything. We're all just sharing the same space, trying to get from point A to point B without running out of fuel. And if you try to run someone off the road, well, sometimes you crash. So, Tessa said, finishing her soda, what do we do tomorrow? I smiled, standing up and dusting off my jeans. Tomorrow, I said, we open at 6 a.m. We make coffee. We sell gas. And if anyone asks for an HOA discount, Tessa laughed. We tell them to do the duck dance. Exactly. The sun dipped below the horizon, and the lights of the gas station flickered on, bright and steady in the gathering dark.